All knowledge is provisional and subject to revision and correction upon the introduction of new evidence. The aim of science is not to discover what is impenetrable to us but to discover what is penetrable. No society can predict in absolute terms what kind of knowledge will become most useful for the future. The growth of knowledge depends entirely on disagreement. Philosophy proceeds with very small steps, much like those small steps of geology before finally mountains arise. We can still be knowledgeable even if we have no certainty that our beliefs are true. The first requirement of a liberal education is to make nervends. There is no such thing as a logical method of having new ideas or a logical reconstruction of this process. Without censorship, things can get terribly confused in the public mind. The greatest mistake we make is to think that success is the same thing as happiness. I am not for democracy because I am for freedom. I am for freedom because I am for knowledge, and because democracy seems to me the most suitable method of gaining knowledge. The individual may be creative only on condition that he is an individual and not a member of the mass. We can see that there is an infinite number of varieties of self-protecting institutions which cannot be overthrown by trivial demonstrations of falsehood. There is no history of science yet, there is only the history of individual men of science. Each problem solved leads to the discovery of other problems, and so we can never claim to have solved more than a tiny fraction of all scientific problems. We can never predict what will be condemned as a presumption. The growth of knowledge depends largely on the existence of a well-organized community of scientists. It is often not easy to distinguish between the genuine innovator and the crank. Theories, or philosophical doctrines that claim to have unassailable foundations, are simply asserting that there are no reasons for anyone to believe that their claims are false. There is no need to belabor the point that we aim at the truth, but we cannot claim that we are invariably successful in achieving it. Science is a great game. It is inspiring and refreshing. The playing field is the universe itself. Growth and improvement of moral understanding must be gradual and continuous, never sudden or revolutionary. Science requires that we do our best to make ourselves immune to perceptual error. We must plan for freedom and not only for security, else we will make neither. Science may be described as the art of systematic oversimplification. It is impossible to speak in such a way that you cannot be misunderstood. The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it is the illusion of knowledge. All life is problem solving. We are social creatures to the inmost center of our being. The notion that one can begin anything at all from scratch, free from the past, or unindebted to others, could not conceivably be more wrong. The more we learn about the world, and the deeper our learning, the more conscious, specific, and articulate will be our knowledge of what we do not know, our knowledge of our ignorance. The game of science is, in principle, without end. He who decides one day that scientific statements do not call for any further test, and that they can be regarded as finally verified, retires from the game. What we call knowledge is always open to revision, and what we call opinion is always open to reconsideration. True ignorance is not the absence of knowledge, but the refusal to acquire it. One of the greatest problems of our time is that many are schooled but few are educated. I think that we all have a duty to devote at least a small proportion of our income and or our time to activities that help solve the problems of the world. It is our responsibility not to submit to the world as it is, but to remake it in the image of our hope. The pursuit of truth means no more than the wish to give intellectual satisfaction to people who crave knowledge for its own sake. The fact that science cannot make moral judgments is often taken to imply that there are no moral values at all. Science is one of the very few human activities, perhaps the only one, in which errors are systematically criticized and, in time, corrected. Every discovery in science is a tacit criticism of things done before. The critical attitude, which thinks that nothing is to be accepted until it has been proved by mathematical reasoning, is a characteristic of a very limited and peculiar group of minds, of whom actually very few scientists are members. An idea is a guess that has achieved respectability. The advance of knowledge is an infinite progression towards a goal that is never attained. Unlimited tolerance must lead to the disappearance of tolerance. We must plan for freedom, and not only for security, if for no other reason than that only freedom can make security secure. If we are uncritical, we shall always find what we want, we shall look for and find confirmations, and we shall look away from and not see whatever might be dangerous to our pet theories. All our scientific hypotheses are indeed but unprovable conjectures. The so-called paradox of freedom is the argument that freedom in the sense of absence of any constraining control must lead to very great restraint, since it makes the bully free to enslave the meek. The fact that we can make bad guesses does not mean that we do not know anything.